going up. We going crazy, going bonkers. Produced by Ziggy, Zay Ticket. Believe that.
It ain't peaches, it'll deceive you, boy, believe me. What you know about a jungle made with nothing but semen. No creepy crawlers, just heathens that prey on your weakness. Smell the slightest hint of fear, and the stainless you'll eat it. Gang bangers that greet your test on their face like Weezy. Pulling up by the ounce, walking around looking sleepy. I'm from a town, no integrity, a broken city, disrupted. I know niggas were real hook now, turning into suckers. When it comes to murder, it's nothing. Rallos get pulled over scuffles. Bumpy road around this motherfucker, your life means nothing. It ain't peaches. Niggas walking around with no feelings, with a chip on their shoulder, saying the world don't feel it. Trying to earn them some millions so they can split with they niggas. I know cats that died broke because they lost all ambition. When it comes out to get
Welcome back to another edition of More to Live For. We're still on this great segment, Growing Up in Bethel. We're fortunate to be up to Volume 6. Got a special guest with me tonight. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself and how he grew up. What's going on, man?
How you doing, Mr. Moore? Thanks for having me.
Doing all right.
My name is Brent Wooten. I lived in Bethel for the first 36 years of my life. Born and raised. Bethel School, kindergarten through 8th grade. My parents moved to Bethel in the late 70s from a couple other Eastern North Carolina counties, and that's what we made home. Some of the best friends I ever made. I made growing up in that great community, and I learned to play baseball and football and basketball. Great coaches, Jeff Hines and Doug Warren and Charlie Wall and Bob Harrington. We had middle school sports at Bethel. I wish I was a little more talented and not short and slow, but it still definitely molded me into the person I am today. Great time at North Bethel High School. Graduated in 1999. Left for 4 years. Went to the University of North Carolina. Majored in political science. Started teaching at North Pitt in 2003, and I taught there until 2016. And that was my first 14 years as an educator, and I'm now in my 5th year at Havelock High School and my 20th year overall as an educator. Coach. I've coached basketball, football, baseball, coached tennis 1 year. Right now I coach football, and I'm the head men's lacrosse coach at Havelock. But there's something special about growing up in a small community. There's something special about the relationships you build. There's something special about the memories you have and you share with all the friends you grew up with. Families thrown around quite a bit, but I do think if you're from Bethel, there is that family connection. Everybody knows everybody. We're talking about, the Stancils and, your family. My mom taught for 30 years. Like I said, she knows a lot of people from Bethel, the Hanses, the Heath. It's such a great community that's it's a big part of who I am.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Thank you for laying that out real detail. And I definitely can agree with everything that you said. It's just something about that place growing up. The fact that we all grew up there, man, and it's like you build these friendships over the years, man, and then just to see it last for a lifetime. And the fact that you're older than me by not sure how many years, but enough years. So
yeah. I'll be 42 in December. So
okay, I just turned 37 in March. So
I think we missed high school by a year or two together.
Okay, but the cool thing is I'm pretty sure we were at Bethel Elementary at the same time.
Absolutely, kindergarten through 8th grade, we're all there.
Exactly. So that's another great thing about growing up in that place, like the fact that we're coming from a K through 8 school. Me and you didn't go to high school together, but we were in K through 8 together, and you build those friendships with people. And then speaking personally for myself and my family, like you just mentioned, my granddad was a Stancil, so it's so many of my older cousins that that you went to school with, like my cousin Rakeith Wiggins.
Rakeith.
Quentin Hines. Mitchell Stencil and Milton State. And I'm pretty sure you went to high school with all of them.
All of them.
That's just a great thing about growing up in Bethel. And I'm pretty sure if you were to start naming some of your cousins that's a little younger than you, I know them and I went to school with them. So that's just another cool thing about the way we grew up. So I kind of want to tap in on your experiences at Bethel School. How was that for you?
I think the foundation of who I am was laid at Bethel School. I remember, early teachers like Miss Bland and Miss Thurston. I had Miss Moore in third grade. Everybody loves Miss Moore, and I still keep in contact with her on Facebook. Andrea, her daughter, was in my class. It's interesting. My mom and Miss Warren taught in the 4th and 5th grade, and Miss Denton. And then you get to middle school, you remember people like Mr. Green. Like everybody remembers Mr. Green if you had him at Bethel School. Like just such a honestly, he's my first black male teacher. And it's growing up in a small community. It makes a difference. Like you started to see things from a different perspective. And he had such a good personality, like the way he ran a classroom, like some of the things he did, I still do today. Like he used to always call quizzes quizzicals. I still remember in the 6th grade and 7th grade, we're gonna have a quizzical today. And I still use the same term in my class. Hey, y'all, we're gonna have a quizzical today. Like it's something that's really, an important part of who you are and what molds you into the person you become. Miss Davis and Miss Carson. I wish I could remember everybody. I'm getting so old, but the foundation from Bethel School, not only like the educators, and I think one thing that made Bethel interesting is like a lot of the teachers actually lived in the community, so they knew the kids from Bethel, like they knew their families. Like if there's an issue, you could talk to their mother or their father, their grandmother, their grandfather. You might run into them at the day night, or you might run into them at the mini shop, or right. or Harris Supermarket or IGA, whatever it became. There was lots of different opportunities to just get to know each other. Like I tell people all the time, like we talk, especially in today's society, there's a lot of things that we deal with from a racial perspective. But I really, in Bethel, grew up with so many people that are really close to me that, white, black, it didn't matter. We were so close. Like I never really looked at it that way. And I think that's what helped me become who I am.
Right. Definitely. You kind of, tapped into something that you kind of, brought something to my attention that I wanted to address. The fact that we come from a small town, I think that, plays a major part into, the people, the men, the women that we are today from this town. And, and how, basically in a nutshell, how, with the way things are now, mainly, 2020, everything that was, coming from a town that we come from, it's not gonna say necessarily easier for us, but we're used to coming together. We're used to seeing each other, on a level playing field. You know what I mean? So it's like, So I'm glad that you kind of spoke on that, because it's just that the way that we grew up, the way that all of us grew up, from Bethel, no matter the race or the age bracket, because it's like we all were around each other. And something real briefly, I'm not trying to be all over the place with this conversation, but I was doing another interview with a young man from Bethel, and something that me and him both agreed upon is like, to me, the very first sport I played, with any type of organization was baseball. So I think all of us Bethel guys, it's like baseball was our first sport, because I really don't know why we didn't have like during the mid 90s, we didn't have any like Pee Wee football league or like basketball or any like recreational basketball or anything like that. But the fact that we did have baseball, and I remember like in the mid 90s, I don't know if you remember it was like the Bethel Mets and the Bethel Phillies.
Bethel Mets, Bethel Phillies. I played for the Phillies.
Yeah, I played for the Phillies also. So like it's just like with laying that out, it's like like all of us Bethel guys, like baseball was like our first true sport. And then once we got the middle school and being able to play football with Welcome, that was cool. But for the most part, all of us baseball our first sport.
Bethel stuck with Bethel, and Bethel's like I said, we were lucky with some great coaches for Little League baseball. And I got a chance to play in the Eastern Finals with some really good players that grew up in Bethel. Even though we went to North Pitt, Cerrone Hines, Demetrius Heath, Bob Wall, Cameron Young, Omar Williams, like all of us, that grew up in Bethel Little League together. We ended up having a pretty successful baseball career with Coach Bowers at North Pitt. So it played an important role. My brother played with us. Guys like Rob Harrington and those like that. And Rob's still very involved. I don't know if you've got a chance. If you want to talk to somebody that really is invested in Bethel right now, Rob Harrington's still back there, and he does a lot, man. He does a lot with youth programs. He's his mom and dad still live there. His mom was principal at Bethel for a while we were there. But
I remember that last name.
But Rob's the epitome of what being committed to the community and a small community is. Like when I left, it was one of the most difficult decisions that I've ever made, because I raised my kids in Bethel until they were 4 and 3, right. And my wife's from outside of DC, and Bethel's a little bit smaller than DC, so right. It's interesting. Now we loved it. We loved our daycare. We loved our community. But my dad had passed away a few years before we got married, or a few months before I got married. My mom had moved to the coastal area, and had made the decision that we wanted to be closer to her. And it just, it's the right decision for my family at the time, but it's not an easy one. Like every time we go to our parents' house in DC, we drive through Bethel and go by our old house. Like we talk to our kids about their rooms, their friends in the community. My dad's buried in the cemetery at Bethel. I go by every time to see him, just to say hey. So I mean, it's just so much in who a lot of us are from Bethel. Like you said, it's so important to who we became, just because of the foundation that Bethel played in just letting us all create like close relationships and friendships that have stuck with us. I mean, I remember my first year at Havelock, went to the state title. The amount of friends that I graduated North Pitt with, grew up in Bethel with me, that contacted me, Dante Person, Kelly Williams, like just send me messages, wishing me luck. Like it's fascinating that bonds and relationships built in the 80s and 90s are still strong today.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that's kind of what this whole journey that I'm on, not necessarily the whole YouTube journey, but definitely this segment, man. It's all about I'm enjoying reconnecting with people that I don't necessarily talk to every day, but I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. And something that you just said, man, like I really wanted to oftentimes I don't necessarily regret decisions that I made, but I do wish that I could raise my kids in Bethel also. And mainly what I realized mainly is I want them to do the things that I did when I was a child. So, but
it's nice to go out and ride your bikes in the community and go all over the place and not really have to worry about anything.
Yeah,
like that sense of protection, and everybody's looking out for your kids, and it makes a difference. When you go somewhere you're not familiar with, as crazy as the world is today, you don't know who to trust. But when you know your neighbors to every which side of your house, and across town, in town, out of town, it gives you a sense of like just a comfort that no matter where your kid is, if they fall off their bike, somebody's going to take care of them. If they need some water, somebody's going to give them a glass of water. Like it's just a great thing. Like it's really just a nice thing to see.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just that that the small town community, the fact that everybody not necessarily know each other, but everybody's just so familiar with each other and familiar with each other's family, that, like you said, man, like if I'm doing something wrong, it's nothing for somebody in your family or your mom or anybody to be telling my mom or somebody in my family. And that goes for any of us in Bethel.
You weren't getting away with anything.
Exactly.
You weren't getting away with anything.
That definitely was cool. So something else I want to kind of tap into, like for me, making the transition from Bethel School to North Pitt was like it was swift and like a breeze. I really didn't get the I wasn't in awe of being in high school and seeing like just seeing high school people. It was more so of it was more so of okay, I'm from Bethel, and this is Bethel's high school.
Yeah.
So
Here we go.
Here we go. So I want to know, was it kind of like that for you?
It was. I mean, I think north of the river in general is a special place.
Right.
Going to high school there for 4 years, teaching there for 14. The kids, like, just, just having the opportunity to try to like teach them things and to like be a mentor to them. And, one of the guys used to coach with me, took the head job at Enloe 2 years ago in Raleigh, and two of my former players from North Pitt are helping him out this year in Raleigh. And it's those relationships like north of the river, Pactola, Stokes, Belvoir, those communities. We're all rural. We all come from similar ways of life. So it's just I didn't feel uncomfortable because I felt like most of the people out there were pretty similar to who I was.
Right.
I always told my wife I hope my kids get a chance to go to North Pitt, and right now we live in West Carteret's district, so that doesn't like it's going to work too well.
Right.
I hate that they're not going to get that same feeling I had to wear the orange and the navy, and to put that shirt on and said Panthers, and to go and compete, or just to go and learn, or or just to be in the band, or to be in a school play, or whatever it was. Like such an important part of my life. It's like you said, I didn't feel scared. I was excited. I felt like we were, all pretty similar out there north of the river, and like we all stuck together.
Oh yeah, definitely. One thing for me that definitely made it that much easier. Well, for one, I'm coming into North Pitt and 99 2000, and I'm coming into North Pitt, and I have I want to say 7 first cousins that I grew up with that's already here in 12, 11, 10, and 9th grade, coming in 9th grade with me. So, and the fact that I was playing football. So the first day of school was more like, football practice. We just get to go in afterwards.
You'd already been at football practice.
Smooth transition.
Yeah, it's right. Coach Whitehurst, he was still around when you got out there, right?
Yep.
Coach Whitehurst, Coach Cornwell,
Coach
Lawrence, Coach Staten,
Coach Lawrence. He was
Coach
there.
Lawrence. I mean, those guys were, honestly, as a coach today, I look to a lot of the things I learned from those guys. I mean, it's important. I thought they were really good at building relationships. They were really good at pushing us to succeed. I remember coming back and watching you guys play a couple times in the early 2000s. Quentin Person, Travis Parker. There were some good football players on that team.
Yeah, definitely.
Tim Gunner. I think Tim Gunner, was he before you? I can't remember.
He was before me, but I'm
Tim
glad.
was one of the hardest hitting people I've ever seen in my life.
I'm glad you mentioned him because he's a few years older than me, but just like you, we don't have to necessarily grow up together, but I got cousins your age and vice versa. Same thing with him. So I've been I worked with him a few years ago. I want to say approximately 10 years ago. And in the short time that we build our relationship, once we start talking about football, he did mention you and your brother quite often when he was talking about football. So the fact that you mention him now,
Dante Person could hit. That's one person. Dante used to get you at practice. He'd say, take this play off, and you'd playing guard, he'd play linebacker, and he'd just knock you down and laugh at you. Say, Dante, out there. That ain't nice.
I believe that. Oh yeah.
He'd smile though. He showed him teeth and just laugh and help you up. But we went to school together at Bethel.
Right.
He thought it was funny. We thought it was funny. We didn't hold any grudges. We just knew not to make any deals with Dante.
I heard that. So let me ask you this. So was it your love for the game and just playing at North Pitt and all the bonds that you made with your lifetime friends, is that kind of what led you into coaching, or did you just naturally have a love for the game?
It is like I just remembered like how important it was and how influential it was to be so close to so many guys I played football with and baseball with, that I knew if I got the opportunity to teach, I wasn't sure I wanted to be a teacher. But once I took the job, like I knew coaching was going to be a big part of it because I just enjoyed it so much. Like I enjoyed being around it. You know, baseball probably was my first love. I got the opportunity to work with Coach Meadows for a long time at North Pitt, and he did a really good job building North Pitt's baseball program to what it is today. But the one thing about I say this all the time, if you're a good coach, you're going to be a good teacher because the same structure of a practice, the same way you structure a classroom, the same way you communicate with your students, the same way you communicate with your players. You show me a good coach, I'll show you a good teacher as well. The skills translate. I just think coaching gives you the opportunity to see kids out of like a classroom element because it's different. You know, when you're out there on the playing field or the practice field, you know, it's a different type of relationship you have with those kids, and it's fun. Like I keep up with, you know, so many of my former kids. I had a text the other day from a kid, and I had to ask him whose number it was. And I haven't talked to him in 3 or 4 years. And he said, I just want to say thank you for pushing me to be the best I can be. And I said, look, man, I hate to say it. Who is this? And it was Hassan Mayo. And I haven't talked to the kid in 3 or 4 years. He graduated from North Pitt the year after I left. But, you know, those are the things that you look for. Like I like conference championships. I like, you know, opportunities to play state championships, but, you know, ultimately when you look back on these things, like the amount of times a former player will just send me a text and say thank you. I probably ain't the best coach. I'll be the first to admit it. I've made a lot of mistakes and probably more mistakes than successes as a coach. But one thing I can be pretty sure about as a coach is I've done a good job letting my student athletes know if they ever need anything, don't feel ashamed to ask. I'll try my best. And I think that's what brought me into it. Like just the relationships I built with my friends growing up and knowing that our coaches would do that for us. I thought that was just something I'd really enjoy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you just said something that's very important. The fact that you do both, you coach and you teach, and the fact that that you recognize that if a man or woman is good at one, they're good at the other. So and when I think back to North Pitt, like all the great coaches, had some course they were teaching. So and that's and when I think of a high school coach, no matter what the sport is, I'm automatically assuming they teach a course too. That's just how things work. So something else I want to take a time to acknowledge you for. I do remember seeing you during 2020 during the summer when we were deep in the pandemic. I just want to shout you out, man, and salute you for you still had your team out there ready practicing, doing being as safe as possible, so I just want to take time to acknowledge that, man. I do remember seeing that. And that's
my brother did a really good job. He's the head coach. I coach the quarterbacks. He does a really good job. We were only allowed to have 15 kids at a workout. We had 100 kids in our program. So we split up our coaches over hour increments from 6 in the morning through 8 at night, and we couldn't overlap as coaches. So we each had an hour segment with our kids to make sure we're staying lifting and running. Our kids did a tremendous job committing to their time. And it's a testament to the kids just as much as the coaches, man. We have a coaching staff that's 12 deep. A lot of things you can't do without 12 coaches. It's important, but it doesn't do any good to have a coach out there if no kids show up. And a lot of times that's what's really nice to see. The kids are committed just as much as we are, and that's what makes it successful.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. And
thank you for that.
Man. Yeah, man, definitely, man. Because I do remember seeing that, and the more we talk, it's like more memories are coming. Like definitely K through 8, but more so of things that I can remember hitting like on Facebook also. So that's definitely one of them. So
Facebook, social media, the connection of everybody.
Oh
but
yeah,
I love social media because it allows me to keep up with my friends. I might not get to call you every day, but it's good to see your pictures of your family. It's good to see what you're doing. Your kids playing sports. I love it, man. It's good seeing those, my friends and their kids succeed.
You bring me to another point that I want to make. It's kind of off topic, but I do like the fact that social media, it does what it when used right, it does what it's supposed to do: connect us and keep us connected. And you know, we didn't have that. You know, growing up, I think that we were more so, you know, the internet ourselves. You know, with the things that we were doing, you know, we really didn't need nothing but a bike and a cordless phone once we got back to the house. That's really
Yep. That's
all
what we
that.
need.
So, so I say that to say that, you know, social media makes it, you know, easier. You know, like I said, I do wish that, you know, that my kids could have, you know, could have grew up in Bethel. So, you know, not being able to grow, for them to be able to grow up in Bethel, like the fact that, you know, my friends and their kids, because ultimately that's what I want for
Yeah.
my kids to grow up with my friends' kids that I grew up
Absolutely.
with. So the fact that they still can see each other and still can interact somehow and know
Yeah.
each other and know, you know, the history of their parents and stuff like that. So that's my main thing that I like about social media. And it definitely connects us, man.
I
Definitely.
agree.
I mean, it got me here. So it got me here where I'm at now. So
Absolutely.
definitely. So hey man, I think this has been a super dope interview, man. I think we definitely covered some good topics as far as like you know, Bethel, man, growing up, how you grew up, and like I can't remember exactly what I was talking to, but I was like, I'm going to enjoy this segment so much because it's like I know how I grew up, and I know what Bethel is, but now I'm getting to see it from somebody else's perspective. So that's what's super cool about this to me.
Yeah, I think we all really, just value our time in Bethel. We're all
Yeah,
Buccaneers at heart. We all wore that blue and red in middle
yeah,
school, and that's the first connection we had to each other at the middle sport level. But yeah, it's the community itself, such a big part of who a lot of us are. It's
yeah.
it's nice that you're doing this segment to kind of bring it all back together. I really appreciate that, the time and effort you're putting into this.
Oh yeah, definitely, man, definitely. And I thank you for being a part of this.
No problem, man.
Before things up, man, I definitely want you to I want you to know, man, that you're doing a outstanding job at what you do, and you definitely you know, a pillar of the community, and you definitely a role model to not only your kids, you know, the kids that you taught, but my kids as well. So I definitely want to, you know, salute you once again, man, and you know, keep doing what you're doing, and you know, I'm gonna
I
continue rooting
appreciate
for
it.
you, man. Yeah,
All
definitely,
right,
man.
man.
That's
I'm
what
rooting
it's
for
all
you,
about,
man. I
man.
hope your kids get those connections to Bethel too, man. I'm gonna try to keep mine rooted in it as well. Every time we stop by, we're gonna know it.
Oh yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. Every chance I get, I'm gonna have them down there. So,
All right, man. Well,
but
you have
thank
a
you
good
for being
evening.
a part of this, man. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. This has been another edition of More to Live For, Growing Up in Bethel, Volume 6. I hope you enjoyed. Why settle for less? My last name's Moore. Okay, there we go.